Hey everybody. A few weeks back, we had a request from Heather Wanderer 777 to do an update. She asks, can we have an update about the one breeding pair of rabbits you had left after the free-range experiment went awry? Let me stop there for a second and say that if you're not familiar with the free-range rabbit experiment that we did, then I'll put a link to it here on the screen and in the video description below. To summarize it, we took several of our breeding rabbits and let them loose in the yard to see if we could manage them that way. But unfortunately, every single one of them ended up either running away or passing away. We didn't find very many carcasses, if you will, so it's hard to say whether or not they ran away or if they passed away. So to get to something a little more upbeat, she asks, I would love to know if they've kindled during the summer and what their current stock is like. So ever since the beginning, Jennifer has really been kind of spearheading anything that we do with the rabbits. So Jennifer, what can you tell Heather about what happened over the summer and what our current stock is?
Well, over the summer we did try to get a few litters out of Rose here, and just for some reason they didn't take. They all ended up passing away. She didn't care for them the way she normally does, and the last time around breeding her didn't even take. She didn't even get pregnant last time. So we went ahead and tried again, I'd say about 30 days ago at this point.
Now, Rose is a successful mother. We've had a few different, was it Kindles, kittings? From her before, so whatever happened during the summer was, maybe it was environmental, too much heat, a fluke, something like that.
Maybe a predator nearby that caused her to be uncomfortable. Anything could have happened.
Okay. Heather goes on to ask, are you going to be doing some buck trading to prevent inbreeding since your own stock got down to one pair? And I'm going to kind of combine everything here. She keeps asking, have you figured out how many rabbits you'll need to breed in order to keep breeding stock at a consistent level and have a steady amount of production for your freezer? So there's a lot that's in that, and it's probably best just to say what our intentions actually are.
Our intentions originally, we had bought 2 does and 1 buck, and we were going to use the 1 buck to produce enough does from the 2 to create a harem, if you will. And once we get into second generation, I was going to buy a 2nd and 3rd buck, which we did, and breed the 2nd and 3rd buck to the 2nd generation of does. That didn't work out. A lot of different factors, that just didn't work out, so now we're back down to the 2. What our current intentions are is to breed the 1 buck and the 1 doe, and if we decide to keep any does from the litter, we can go ahead and continue breeding this 1 buck to the babies as long as those babies produced all end up in the freezer. Now, if any of those babies produced we intend on keeping for any reason, for breeding stock, for selling, or whatever, we would have to get a 2nd doe, or I'm sorry, a 2nd buck, in order to keep the lineage open and prevent that inbreeding. But for now, we really only intend on keeping these 2 until,
They run out.
Until they run out, until we have enough time and money to put more effort into our breeding, because it's definitely something I want to keep doing.
So, Heather, I hope that answers some of your questions. You went on here to say, my town says I can't keep chickens, so I've thought about getting some hutches and breeding up some stock to supplement my grocery budget, but still considering the logistics of the startup and how many bucks and does I need to start with to have a healthy, stable breeding population. So, I think that you kind of touched on that.
Well, when you get your breeding stock, chances are you're going to start with baby bunnies. And you can't breed baby bunnies until they're about 9 months old. So that's why we started out with the 2 does and the 1 buck, because it was going to take 9 months before I can even breed them the first time. Well, 6 months by the time we got them, because they were 3 months old. And then, it takes 2 months for a kit to become old enough to even get its own cage or end up in the freezer or whatever. And so to keep costs down, because you got to build cages for every single one of those rabbits that you're keeping, we decided to start with just the 3.
So if you had to try to answer Heather's question here, Heather, we're going to try to approach this under the presumption that if you're in a city and you only have so much space, that you mentioned a breeding population, and I wasn't really sure if you were looking to actually have a breeding stock to keep going from generation to generation to generation, or if you were just interested in having breeding stock that produces rabbits, and the production rabbits are what end up in your freezer. So if she's, for the easiness of it, and I think the only thing we have the experience to really speak towards is that second option, just having a breeding stock that's going to provide rabbits that go immediately into the freezer. So we're not trying to worry about breeding generation 1 to generation 2. Can you tell Heather a little bit about how many rabbits we thought we needed to feed our 7-member family?
For a 7-member family, I would do 3 does and 1 buck if we were only feeding ourselves. Now, keeping in mind that you're going to want to breed all 3 does right at the same time, so that if one of the mothers fails to take care of their babies or happens to die, you've got surrogate mothers. That's one thing that we don't have here. Keep in mind that when you've got a breeding population, you want 1 buck for every 5 does. Now, you could do more than that, but you're going to have a really tired buck.
Happy but tired.
Happy but tired.
Okay. So Heather, I hope that helps you guys out. As Jennifer mentioned, we did breed Rose about 30 days ago. Today is actually the day for us to add in the nest box. So we're going to do that today, and we will probably be back in another week or 2 and give you an update on how this kidling has gone. So thank you all for watching. Jenny, thank you for helping me out on this one.
Anytime.
And we'll see you next time.